In this video, I'm going to show you how to use multiple departmental overhead rates to apply manufacturing overhead. So let's take a company that makes toy cars. They've got two different production departments, they've got an assembly department, and then they've got a painting department. So whenever they make the toy cars, they're going to first be processed through the assembly department, we're going to put them together, and then we're going to paint them. So they're going to pass through each department. Now, one way of allocating the overhead is we could take the overhead for the entire company, which in this case is budgeted to be $12 million. So we could take that $12 million and we could spread it over an activity base that is combined for all the departments together. So let's say our activity base is direct labor hours. So we've got 400,000 hours in the assembly department and 80,000 in the painting department. So we just take $12 million, divide it by 480,000 direct labor hours, and that would give us a rate of $25 a direct labor hour. Now that would be a single plant-wide overhead rate. So this is a plant-wide overhead rate. So we're not making any distinction here, if we did it this way, between what's happening in the assembly department and what's happening in the painting department. We're just taking this and just saying, look, $25 a direct labor hour. And this job, which we're going to look at job 101. And so they've got 100 units, and we see that there's 3 hours spent in the assembly department, 2 hours in the painting department. We're just going to add that up. 3 plus 2 is 5. So we take 5 times 25, and we'd see that there'd be $125 of manufacturing overhead applied to the job if we used a single plant-wide overhead rate. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do departmental overhead rates. So what we have to do is we have to say how much of that 12 million applies to the assembly department and how much applies to the painting department. Well, here we've got 70% applies to the assembly department. So that's going to be, if you take 70% of 12 million, that's $8.4 million. So $8,400,000. Okay. Now we're gonna calculate a rate for that. So we've got 400,000 direct labor hours in the assembly department. So we're going to divide by 400,000. And then for the painting department, we're going to say, okay, well, 12 million times the remaining 30% in the manufacturing overhead is attributable to painting. So that's $3.6 million. So $3,600,000 divided by 80,000 direct labor hours. So we're going to and so now we've got a rate, not just our plant-wide rate, which we talked about before. We're not going to do that. We've got a rate for each department. And so our rate for the assembly department is $21 per direct labor hour. And then our rate for the painting department is $45 per direct labor hour. And again, how do I get that? I just took 3.6 million divided by 80,000. That's 45. So we have a different rate for each department. So that's the difference. Instead of just saying, okay, it's 5 hours, we're just going to multiply that by the single plant-wide rate. We're now going to say, look, how many hours did we spend in the assembly department? Well, we spent 3 hours in the assembly department. So 21 times 3 is going to be $63. Now, how many hours did we spend in the painting department? Well, we spent 2 hours in the painting department, and it's pretty expensive to be in the painting department. We see $45 of direct labor hours. So that is going to 45 times 2 is $90. We add that up, add these two together, 63 plus 90, we have $153. So when we use, in this example, and it's not always going to turn out to be this way, but in this example, when we use the departmental overhead rates, when we have a rate for each department, we have $153. So it's actually more manufacturing overhead in this example being applied to the job than there was if we just used a single plant-wide overhead rate. Why is that the case? Well, we're doing more accurate costing here. This is more time consuming for a company. Obviously, they have to calculate rates for each department, but this is more accurate because we're taking into consideration that it's more expensive to be in this painting department. Okay, and so we weren't capturing. Think about with a single plant-wide rate. You think about it as basically like just an average. And here we're getting the differences, and we're saying it's more than twice as expensive. The rate is more than double to be in the painting department than it is in the assembly department. Okay, now we also have some information about direct materials, direct labor. I want to show you. I just want to fully flesh this out So you can see, I'm going to bring down the overhead so you can see the per unit cost. So if we use the plant-wide single rate, that's right here. We have $40 of direct material used. That doesn't change whether we use a plant-wide rate or multiple departmental rates. The direct materials used and direct labor do not change. They're the same either way. But the manufacturing overhead applied, this is different. Okay, basically, if you used a single plant-wide rate, in this case, you would be undercosting the job. You weren't realizing the true cost. This is actually more expensive to process this job. Now, when we take the total cost for each, the total product cost divided by the number of units produced in the job, we see that the per unit cost is $2.15 under just using a single rate. But when we use the multiple rates, we get $2.43. So in this, it might, you have other examples where the plant-wide rate would be more expensive than the per unit cost, like if we did that way. So it's not always going to turn out like that. And just one more thing. Here, I assume that their direct labor hours are going to be the activity level for each department. It doesn't always have to be like that. It could be that maybe the painting department uses direct labor hours as its activity level, but the assembly department uses machine hours or something like that. That's perfectly fine as well. So there could be different ways of doing it. I just try to give you a baseline case as simple as possible.